Welcome to Warisan Wire. Today, we're talking about Shafie Apdal's post-election statement after the 17th Sabah state election. That election in Sabah was really something else. It was a political earthquake, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It just left the whole landscape so fragmented, so unstable.
And right in that moment, when everyone was just scrambling, trying to figure out what comes next, Shafie Apdal steps up.
He does. And the interesting thing is, his message wasn't really about the results, not in the way you'd expect.
No, it was about the mandate. That was the word he used, the mandate he felt he'd received from the people.
It's a classic move, really. A brilliant way to turn what looks like a strategic loss into a tactical victory.
How so?
Well, his focus wasn't on the narrow margin that kept his party from forming the government. He immediately shifted the conversation to the moral high ground.
So, integrity.
Integrity.
Yeah.
And the fight against corruption. That was the central message. He wasn't just, repeating a campaign slogan. He was setting the benchmark for the incoming administration. He was telling them, this is what the people demand.
And that's so critical. When the margins are that thin, when it all comes down to just one or two seats, every single promise about governance suddenly becomes monumental.
It does.
So what we're going to do is unpack the huge strategic weight behind those statements and really what they mean for the next political cycle in Sabah. Let's start with who he thanked. He was very specific. He thanked all the voters, of course, but he made a special point to single out the support from the Chinese community across Sabah.
And that was no accident. That was a highly calculated political statement.
He claimed his party, the Sabah Heritage Party, showed very good support rates in seats where the Chinese community is the majority. So what do you think that signals?
Well, it's about perception, for one. In a state as diverse as Sabah, showing you have cross-community support is vital, but he went further.
He didn't just say thank you?
No. He immediately explained why he thought he got that support. He argued it was a clear signal that voters were tired of the old way of doing things. They wanted a government that is, and this is his phrase, far from corruption.
So he's using that demographic support as direct evidence, as proof that his anti-corruption message is the one that resonated.
Precisely. He even made it personal, didn't he? He brought up his 36 years in politics and said he felt he had to specifically thank them for believing in the party's core ideals.
That's a powerful way to frame it. It's not just a promise anymore. It's an electoral mandate backed by a key voting bloc.
Exactly. So if any politician then abuses their power, he can say they are actively defying the will of the people. It's a very clear line in the sand.
And his promise was that the Sabah Heritage Party would do everything to fulfill that mandate. It's all about transparency and fighting against that abuse of power. But, high ideals are one thing. The political reality, the cold, hard math, that's another. And the results were incredibly messy.
The numbers are absolutely essential to understand the pressure he was under. There are 73 seats total in the assembly.
Right.
The Sabah People's Alliance, they came out on top with 29 seats.
But that's not a majority, not even close.
Not at all. And right behind them, you have Shafie Apdal's Sabah Heritage Party with 25 seats. So it's very tight at the top.
Okay, so what about the rest? That's where it gets complicated, right?
That's where it gets very complicated. The National Front picked up 6 seats. And then here's the real wild card. You have 5 independents.
5. In an assembly that size, 5 independents are basically kingmakers overnight.
Absolutely. They hold a huge amount of power. And then you have the even smaller parties. The United Kinabalu Party got 3, Star got 2.
And then a few with just 1 seat each.
Yes, the National Alliance, the Love Sabah Party, and the Hope Pact each got 1 seat. So when you have that level of fragmentation, every single negotiation is incredibly fragile.
So given that whole fractured result, how does Shafie Apdal's strategy of pushing for integrity and local cooperation even work? The math forces him to collaborate, but his message is one of, well, perfection.
He's playing a dual strategy here. It's quite clever. First, the core idea is local unity.
Right, Sabah for Sabah hands.
Essentially, yes. He argued that local parties have to be the ones to decide Sabah's direction because, and I'm quoting him here, we understand the people's expectations.
Which is a strong pushback against federal interference.
A very strong push. But he's also a pragmatist. A state can't operate in a vacuum. You still need the federal government. You still need funding from Kuala Lumpur.
Of course.
Yeah.
For development, for structure.
Exactly. And that's the second part of his strategy. He pledged to maintain a professional relationship and assist any central government in power. He's trying to balance asserting local autonomy with ensuring the flow of federal funds isn't cut off.
Which is an incredibly difficult tightrope to walk.
It is. And he keeps coming back to the condition for that cooperation. He reiterates that the people want a government that is clean, not plagued by corruption, loopholes, and abuse of power.
So it's about protecting the state's resources, protecting the people's money, the ringgit.
Yes. When the results are this close, that moral high ground is the most valuable political asset he has. It's a warning shot to the winning coalition, telling them, we are watching, and so are the people.
Okay, let's zoom in on Shafie Apdal himself for a moment, because despite the party's overall result, his personal performance was just a landslide.
It was a stellar victory, and it's so important to distinguish his personal result from the party's. He was defending his seat in Senalang.
And the numbers, they really do speak for themselves. It was a four-cornered fight, and he got 8,751 votes.
Which is a strong number, but it's the majority that's staggering.
A 6,837 vote majority.
Think about that. In a local state election, a majority of almost 7,000 votes is a political tsunami. It's an overwhelming statement of personal trust from his constituents.
It says that they trust him, specifically, regardless of the wider political games.
Exactly. And that undeniable personal mandate makes him an incredibly potent voice on anti-corruption. When he talks about governance, he's not just some opposition leader. He's speaking as someone who just received one of the strongest personal endorsements in the entire state.
So what kind of leverage does that give him? Does it let him push back harder?
Oh, immense leverage. When he's at the negotiating table with other local parties, he can argue that he brings a mandate of moral credibility that they might not have.
And for the Sabah People's Alliance, the ones forming the government.
For them, it means their main opponent has a rock-solid base. He has a public mandate to scrutinize every single government contract, every tender that involves public money. He's essentially Teflon in his own constituency, which makes him a very difficult person to silence.
So he took what was a very narrow party defeat, read the public mood, and just transformed it.
He did. He transformed it into this clear, aggressive mandate for integrity, and he validated it with his own massive personal win. It's a masterful piece of post-election strategy.
So if we were to boil it all down,
I think it comes down to two critical points. First, the election delivered a loud, undeniable mandate for integrity from a big part of the electorate. And the Sabah Heritage Party has now claimed ownership of that mandate. They've positioned themselves as the assembly's moral conscience.
and the second point.
The second is the political challenge for everyone. It's this constant balancing act between local Sabah party cooperation, which you need for stability, and maintaining a working relationship with the federal government in Kuala Lumpur. You need both.
That political chess game really does set the stage for governance in Sabah for the next few years. And you have to think, given that intense focus on anti-corruption, the winning coalition is under immense pressure. They have to show they're clean, and they have to show it now.
The scrutiny will be immediate.
You have to wonder, how quickly will they be tested? What happens when that first major state contract is awarded? That integrity test. That's the real challenge ahead for them. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.